There we go.
Okay. Or to keep things going, you got to ask a few
I
questions.
gotta ask the questions. So you finally got a sheep. Tell me, Uncle Bill, when, how old were you the first time you applied for a sheep tag?
Well, I don't know exactly how old I was. Probably about 21. I first applied when I got out of the Army in 1957.
1957.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
And you applied every single year after that?
No, as a matter of fact, there was a couple of years, maybe even 3 years, that I didn't put in for because I couldn't afford it.
So from 57 till this year, you've applied every single year except for 3 because you couldn't afford it.
That's exactly right.
How much does it cost?
Back then it was $25. But I had a family coming around. And I just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But I figure about 60 years I was applying for the tag.
And do the points accumulate each year? How does that
Yeah,
work?
well, yeah, exactly right. There was a year they started the point system, and then I accumulated all them points. All my friends, all the old guys from the old school, they all drew them tags. I still couldn't draw that tag until
How long ago? How long did it take them?
so one of them, a patient of Joe's, Alan Curio, he just got it. He's my age, and then there's someone else that's got my age, about my age that got it. They were finally getting the old guys out of there.
Well, I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait till I was old enough to go hunting with you. And I worked at Jensen's with you. And I got that rifle. And we went up in just on the other side of the Catalinas there over by Canyons of Laurel High School.
Exactly right.
And we were sitting there and I'm glassing for deer. And you're looking up at the ridges. And finally you said something like, "Hey Eric, you want to see a sheep?"
Yeah. Yeah, I always had a fascination for the big orange sheep.
Yep.
And that's why I learned the Catalina so well, because I wanted to be where I could find sheep. And so that's why I spent so much time in the Catalinas.
Well, how old were you when you first saw sheep in the Catalinas?
I was just a kid when I first saw the first one. I was just on in the foothills. And jumped I think probably a small ram that ran up the side of the hill. And myself and a friend of mine, sat there and was amazed. We didn't have any idea about it. But went home and asked my dad. I said, "Yeah, we saw this big orange sheep. I don't know what I called it, but we saw this big orange sheep." He said, "Did you shoot it?" And I said, "No, sir, I didn't shoot it." He says, "Lucky you didn't. They'd have put you in jail for the rest of your life." Yeah. So, and I got involved with helping my friends sheep hunting because they would draw the tag, and I'd somehow heard that they would come in and ask me about the sheep. They heard that I was spending a lot of time looking at the sheep, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not a guide, but I said I know where there's sheep if you want me to show you." And of course they did, and then the more I was known for finding the sheep, the more everybody that drew a tag in the Catalinas, they'd come to me first to help them out.
So how many people do you think you helped over the years find a sheep?
10.
10, huh?
I was the 10th one.
So 10
Yeah.
people came to you.
Yeah, I helped 9 people come to me. I know every one of them, and they're not all around anymore. But yeah, I helped 9 people.
Well,
And oddly enough, during my hunt, I had a couple of the guys there that I helped, including Tracy, which I was with him on his hunt.
Yeah.
So the group of guys all got together and just showed up. I didn't have any idea they were going to, but
Nice.
Well, that must have been bittersweet to have your kid draw before you did.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was satisfied that was going to be our sheep in the family was his.
Was his. Well, I remember that day that I was sitting there watching them. We were both watching that ewe and her two babies, and then somebody a couple fingers over took a shot at a deer, and she just bolted about the distance of this room and went underneath a bush, and the two little lambs just pounced on over, and they lay down by her, and if you hadn't seen them, you wouldn't know where she was. And they'd stick their little heads up, and they'd look around. Mama never moved another muscle.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I remember the time you and I together where you're talking about off the Oracle Road there.
Yep.
And I think if my memory serves me correctly, we got a rattlesnake.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanted to take it home.
Yep.
So you put it in your pack.
Yep.
As I remember. And I remember walking out of the mountain, and every once in a while, you'd let out a, "Yah!" What's wrong? Oh, that snake moved. That scared me.
It did. I hit one of them bottle brush, well, I don't know what you call it, but you know how it's got the dry seeds in there?
Yeah.
And I heard it rattle, and I took that backpack off my back and threw it about 20 feet down the hill, and you were just beside yourself, laughing your head off
Yeah,
at
that
me.
was funny. That was great.
Well, we had run into an entire, we found that big snake, and you shot it with your pistol. And so, yeah, its head was off completely. Even so, the nerves were making it move.
Yeah, it would have been. I wouldn't let you put it in your pack.
Yeah. Yeah, it had the head completely severed, but even so, the body would wiggle.
Yeah, for
And
hours.
and then we came upon an entire, it wasn't a cave, but there was like a hole in the ground, and there was probably
A den.
a den of them.
Yeah, I remember that distance between the foothills and the highway was a scary distance because there was always a lot of snakes.
Yep.
Rattlers, and we were coming out. Of course, after dark.
Right,
So,
right when they start coming out.
Yeah. It was always nervous coming out of there.
Yeah. Well, I threw that backpack far enough.
Yeah. Yeah, they make you jump even after they've been dead for hours.
Yep. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So how many
Yeah.
times did you actually put in for that sheep?
Well, I don't remember the time. From the time they started counting points. No, I can't say I remember how many times. But yeah, it was obviously one of the last one that drew it. Drew that tag. Last of the old guys.
So
60,
57 all the way through 2022.
Yeah.
62-ish.
Wow. So 60 years you were putting in for that sheep.
Yeah, and the hard part for me was the fact that I knew so much about them, and I couldn't get one of my own. But I was satisfied with helping all the other guys that I helped over the years, plus taking friends of mine to see the bighorn without a tag, just to see him.
Just to go look
So
at him.
I got a lot of good times just helping other people.
Well,
Tell them about this story. The two ladies hiking up while you were hiking down with one of the harvests,
Oh,
who wanted to save the sheep.
yeah. It was a guy. This guy was named Eric Cahan. He drew a tag in the Catalina, and we got his sheep and was packing it out. Tracy had half, I had half, and Eric had the head and the horns. And we were, of course, coming out of the canyon.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And we crossed path with a couple of ladies that were hiking, and she said, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" I said, "It's a sheep." And she said, "Well, there's someone in town that takes care of wounded animals." I said, "Lady, this animal is not wounded. It's ready for the frying pan." And other people. One ran across somebody, and Eric and I was up front, and guy says, we passed him and said, where'd you get that Desert Bighorn up there? He said, we're, he said, where's the other half? And Eric, comedian, said, oh, he got away.
He got away. Well, I'll never forget watching those live, you know, that you and those two babies. That's
Lambs. They're fun to watch. That's why I always enjoyed just watching them, because unlike a deer who just head down, eat, heads up, look, head down, like that, these sheep are always running around, jumping on the rocks, jumping off the rock, butting heads with their mom, and they're always entertaining to watch. Yeah, I watched a small lamb one time beating up a nice ram like the one I have there. He was laying down, and that lamb would run up there, and that ram would just duck his head and bang on it, and then he'd go off and come back, bang on it. And finally, the big ram must have got tired of that little lamb, so when he came down on him, he lifted his head up and rolled him on the ground. And he went back to mama then.
He went back to mama.
I had enough of that.
I didn't need that one anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, they're a fun animal.
huh? So you put in, like always. How old are you?
87.
87 years old.
A
How many
lot.
people out traipsing around in the woods at 87 or the desert at 87?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's not any easier, but I was glad that I did it. I had great help, you know. Tracy is very experienced with the sheep now, and all the other guys. I had a lot of help, so I can't take all the credit, but I can for the other guys that I helped, because I didn't have anybody else but myself and my hunter and the hunter. You know,
So you drew your tag. Who found out first?
actually, Tracy called me and said one of the three of us drew a bighorn sheep tag because of the way it's set up. And
One of the three of us. You,
Yeah.
Jolene, and him.
yeah, Tracy put Joel, I, and himself. I guess. Is that
He
right?
could have drawn a
We
second time?
saw the bill on the credit card.
Oh.
Tracy has shot a desert sheep but not a Rocky Mountain. So he puts in for Rocky Mountain.
Okay.
Pop and I have put in for desert.
Yeah.
Got it.
And something went through on the credit card.
And it was the right amount of money that we knew it was a sheep. But we didn't know who drew it.
Ah, okay.
I immediately said, I hope it's one of you guys that drew the tag. 'Cause I'm not able to get up there in that sheep country anymore. I said, the only way I'm going to get a sheep now is if I find a roadkill and put my tag on it.
So what happened?
So it turns out that Tracy called me back and said, yeah, you drew that tag. I said, oh, super, you know. And it was in the,
Now what?
yeah. I felt like this right
You got
now.
a shark on the end of your line. Oh boy, now what?
Yeah, exactly what I felt. But
So when was that? What month?
that was November 25th or somewhere.
Oh, right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Does that sound right, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the hunt started the day after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Oh, and they let you know on the day after?
No, we found out in the summertime that he got the tag.
Oh, okay.
And the tag was good from the day after Thanksgiving to mid-December, so, or end of December.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had plenty of time, and that was the reason I accepted the fact that I'm going to have to hunt it myself.
Well, now, I happen to be right at that crossover period for you when you went from hunting with a rifle to hunting with a bow.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd saved my money there at Jensen's, and I finally bought that '06, and I'm ready to head out. And you told me, oh, it ain't hunting unless you can sneak up close enough to shoot it with a bow. And so I remembered that all these years. And when I heard you had the tag, I said, "So are you going to shoot this one with the bow?" What was it you told me?
No, I was told I'm going to shoot it with the biggest gun I have.
That's
Something
right.
like that.
You know, we still have that 30-06.
Yep.
We still have that gun.
What model was it?
Model 70A.
Oh, it was not the super grade.
No, I got the downgrade. Well, I was only 16. What could I afford at
Yeah.
the time, right?
I was just trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah, you had
it
to
was
get
a
the
good
Model
rifle.
70A.
It was a good rifle.
Yep. And you worked with me on the Bolt with left-handed.
All right, were you shooting at left-handed?
Well, yeah, you and I were the only two lefties in the
Yeah.
group.
I didn't remember, but yeah, that's great. I found somebody else that shoots from the wrong side.
That's right. In fact, when I got in the Marine Corps, we had I went out to the Philippines and we did some live fire stuff, and I shot the saw left-handed. And then after I got my degree and got demoted to lieutenant, went back to officer candidate school where I met Diane, and we were getting trained by this young sergeant telling us about the saw. And he said, now the problem is all you left-handed guys, you're going to have to shoot this thing right-handed because you can't shoot the saw left-handed.
What were you shooting?
The saw,
No,
Oh,
what rifle?
they called it a saw.
Oh, they call it a sock?
A saw, S-A-W.
Oh, SAW.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's a small machine gun type.
Okay.
Belt
Military
fed.
weapon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he said, so you lefties are going to have to shoot this right-handed because you can't shoot this thing left-handed. And so being stupid me, I raised my hand and said, I've shot that left-handed. No, you haven't, sir. And then all the other lieutenants look at me like, would you shut up and leave the poor sergeant alone? So I shut my mouth. But that night, when we got back to the barracks, I went out and I looked for that picture, and I put that picture up on this cork board, and I said, this is not me shooting left-handed, you know. But there you see all these shell casings going up and over my head because they're coming out. And that's why he said you couldn't shoot it left-handed because the casings come out.
Yeah.
But literally, I had this rainbow going over my head of casings shooting it left-handed.
How
Yeah.
about that? Yeah.
Yep, you and I.
Yeah.
You taught
Yeah,
me
I
to shoot
shot
prone, and I shot expert in the Marine Corps every year.
Well, you know, I shot that left-handed bolt gun when I shot Perry and won the nationals there, and shot it left-handed, crossing over the top of the, like I used to see we do, like over the top.
Yep. That's what you taught me how to do.
In fact, while I was shooting 300 yards, one of my last matches, I remember it was 300-yard rapid fire, prone position, and I shot that rapid fire, and I shot it well. And I remember saying out loud let's see somebody beat that. It was a good score, and I know. And when I looked over my shoulder, there was 3 or 4 guys standing there watching me, and looking at me, and I said, "Hey, what's up, guy?" I said, "We come to see you shoot." What do you mean? What do you mean you came to see me shoot? Well, they have a note on the bulletin board down there. If you haven't seen the guy from Tucson, Arizona shoot the right-handed bolt left-handed, you ought to watch him.
Yep, you and I were the two lefties.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, so I bought that rifle, and then right then you told me, oh, you got to learn how to shoot a bow. So I ended up getting my first PSE in like 1982.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could see it coming. The tags were getting harder to get. Almost impossible for some. Antelope and elk used to be, they gave them away practically. I could see it getting harder and harder to get with a rifle. And I said, I remember Tracy just, when he was able to pull the bow back, I said, we're going to have to change to the bow if we're going to get any of these tags anymore. So we did. We changed to the bow. He kept after it. As you well know, he's used nothing but the bow and arrow. I myself love the rifle, and I always will. But we kept on hunting because we were hunting with a bow and arrow. So I told him it was a good time to change over right now.
Yep. Okay, so you get your tag, in the summer. And then what'd you do between the summer and November when you could finally go out hunting?
Well, we scouted a little bit. I scouted very little, but Tracy and a couple of other guys, Mark Hardy, you know Mark, Lauren's boy.
Yep.
Yeah, him and another young man named Jason spent a lot of time during that period looking for sheep, and they knew that ram very well.
Oh, okay.
And and I got a chance to see him. I have pictures of him on standing looking at me, and we scouted him good, and pretty much knew where he was at, and relocated him. And the second day of the hunt, I think we actually hunted him.
The first day we found him,
Yeah.
but he wasn't anywhere we could shoot him, or we watched him go over onto
Yeah.
the reservation, someplace where you couldn't shoot him.
Yeah, it was never in a good enough place because I couldn't walk after him or hike after him. So we had to get him follow him all summer to get him to know that he's going to get somewhere close to the road. Well, he finally got close enough that I was able to go after him, even though I didn't have to walk anywhere. But because I shot him at 700 yards, and now that's not I don't take a lot of credit for that, because the guys had set up a good setup for me to shoot from, and so I ended up shooting even with his rifle instead of one of mine.
So who was it that when you say that, you're talking through a lot of stuff there. So you needed to be able to shoot him from the road, which made it a further shot, but
Yeah.
somebody loaned you a different rifle?
Is it one?
Somebody loaned you a different rifle?
Yeah, it was Jason. He's an experienced sheep person as well,
Okay.
so he had a good idea what I needed to do. He had a gun that was especially made up for long range, so when it come time that I could get the shot, I just used his rifle. He was all set up.
Now, did you have to go sight that rifle in, or did he
He
sight
had
it in?
it.
What did he do?
He had it all sighted in.
Now,
He's recently helped, so Jason just helped his grandfather a couple years ago with the same setup, a nice shooting bench and this nice gun. And you weren't shooting from the road because that's illegal. We were on a trail.
Yeah, and in fact, it was not a road.
Yeah.
Saying it a
but it
road.
was someplace you could get to.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know. Back when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I was shooting my bow across the road, and you stopped me and said, "Hey, that's illegal. You can't shoot across the road."
And we sweet talked his doctor into helping him get a permit called a CHAMP permit. So he's allowed some extra special accommodations from Arizona Game and Fish to be able to hunt, taking a vehicle into places where an able-bodied hunter would not be able to take a vehicle.
Got it.
So that's the road he's
Now you
talking
said it was
about.
sitting, so you had a bench, so you were sitting.
Yeah, I saw they had Jason had a bench, a portable bench. Took it out of the back of the Jeep, set it up, and Tracy, of course, was watching the ram to see what he was going to do, and set up this bench. And I asked Jason, I said, I'd like to feel the trigger pull before I shoot it. So I dry fired a couple of times. He was impressed about that. He said, who would have ever thought
Yeah.
that he'd want to check the trigger pull? But I knew that. So I dry fired a couple of times. I said, okay, I have a feel for the trigger. And he had that bench set up with a bipod on the rifle. And from pure experience, I knew what I had to do at that time.
Right.
I knew that what had to be done.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. So I got set up and found the sheep through my scope, and I said, okay, I'm ready. And I said, watch, here it goes. And so everybody was watching, including Joe and all the other people. And
He had an audience from probably 3 or 4 different vantage points. So it was Pop and Tracy and Jason at
Yeah.
one spot. I was watching because I'd been tasked with making sure that sheep didn't move while they went to get Pop, so I was someplace else. And then there were another couple guys, his best buddy Phil Brenton and his son Jesse, who were watching someplace else. And then Phil Dalrymple and 5 or 6 other guys who had all been cheering for Pop all these years, who were gathered someplace else. Everybody watching this sheep.
Yeah, that's the way it was going down.
So who found it that morning?
Tracy actually
found it
relocated.
that morning.
Okay.
And
And
Yeah,
then he
Tracy
put me
did.
on a pair of binoculars to follow it because he had to go get Pop and Jason.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then they brought Jason and Pop, got Pop on the side by side up to a place where they could see him and it was reasonable to set up.
Okay.
The sheep didn't ever really move. He was busy eating a barrel cactus. And then he laid down.
yeah,
And Pop had to wait a little bit for him to stand up because he couldn't see him because of the brush real well.
Right.
yeah, you should have the camera on her.
I know. Well, that's why I told her to sit right there because my speaker here is
That's right.
directional.
I'm really just, yes.
That's
okay.
about the end of the story anyway.
Okay, so
No,
you
it's
got no, it's
not.
not because you had to squeeze.
You got what?
You had to squeeze the trigger. Let's hear it.
Oh yeah. Well,
700
I
yards.
noticed-
Is that a long shot for a sheep like this? And does it even know you're
Yeah.
there?
yeah, he didn't know we were there. It is a long shot, and the power of the scope was like 32 power, which of course lost so much definition and resolution because of the magnification.
Right.
But I had to overcome that by just studying it, and it was difficult to put it all together. Plus the fact that I was getting tired, so that's when I said we have to get this done. But the scope, the crosshair, was moving a little bit, but within the kill zone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was holding well enough. And I said, here it goes. Made the shot.
Took a breath, held your breath, and just squeezed real slow.
Just like I was if I was shooting at a target.
Yep.
In fact, Jason said, I can't believe how calm you were. That was the part where I said, I knew what I had to do.
One shot, one kill.
As a matter of fact, I shot twice. The first shot hit him hard, and he humped up and went over and laid down. And then he picked his head up a couple times. And I told Tracy, I said, you know, if I need to, I'll shoot him again. And he lifted up his head again. And I said, yeah, I'm going to put him out of his misery. Or he didn't know, of course, he was in misery. But then I shot again, and that finished him off.
That was it.
I know when I told him I'd shoot him again, Tracy said, Dad, he isn't going anywhere. I can tell you right now.
So where'd you hit him?
I hit him just perfect on one side, came out on the other side, a little bit low,
When you say a little bit low, how many inches is that?
maybe 3 or 4 inches.
So 700 yard shot, and you were 3 or 4 inches low.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was good equipment is all I can say. You know, they say, well, you're a good shot. No, I just know how to hold and squeeze. A good shot
That's
is
what
one
a
that
good
can
shot is.
one that can shoot across the course. You know, rapid fire, 200 yards, standing. That's how you measure a good shot. But I was happy. I said, yeah. I just had to squeeze, hold and squeeze. But
At age 87, isn't that like pretty good?
yeah, it was. Say it again.
I said at age 87, isn't that still pretty good?
Yeah, not too bad.
You weren't 40 anymore. I mean, it would have been nothing then.
Yeah, been 40. I'd have got within a couple hundred yards and shot him full of holes.
So who went to get it?
Say that again.
Who went to get the sheep?
Oh, that's good. All the guys got together and said, Tracy wanted to do, and I went along with it. Wanted to get a life-size mount. So, in
More
order to...
important than that, Jason in particular wanted to get a picture of you with the sheep.
Yeah.
And so a group of 8 guys hiked up that very steep rocky hillside and they brought that sheep down whole.
Intact. Wow.
Wow. How much did he weigh?
Well, I don't know. We didn't weigh him, but typically the sheep probably 150, 160 pounds maybe.
Wow.
The horns itself weighs 50 pounds.
Really?
Well, probably about 44 or something like that.
Wow.
I just like packing that around all day long. He's got a lot of
That'll
character.
give you a headache.
He's got a lot of character, that ram. He's been around for a long time.
How many years do you think he is?
I said right from the get-go, I figured he was about 11. And when we took him to the Game and Fish Department, checked him out and said, hey, I think he's about 11. I said, that's what I think so too.
Okay.
How
How many years do they live?
How many what?
How many years do they usually live?
They're at 11 years old. He's getting up there. So 12, 13 is about it. So he had lived out his time.
So they'll die of natural causes
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't get them
And the
right.
coyotes get him before I did, and I wouldn't want that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what was the best hunt of your whole life?
That is hard to say. The time I spent with you is as good as any.
That's not fair.
It's hard. People ask me that question a lot.
Yeah.
What's the favorite hunt that you went on? Dadgummit, they were all favorites of mine. I had loved all the hunting that I did, and I can't say I have a particular hunt that I like best. I can say there's some areas that I enjoyed going to, like in New Mexico elk hunting. I just had a lot of fun on the archery elk hunting in New Mexico. But to say what was my favorite hunt, it was hard. I enjoyed every hunt I ever went on.
That's good.
Nice. How many hunts do you think you did total in your life
Oh, boy.
so far?
Counting deer and all. Diane, there's no way to know. I hunted from the time I was a little kid up till the last day of my sheep. Every year, hunted 3 or 4 or 5 hunts with different people.
Wow.
The interesting part about that is I've only killed 5 deer in Arizona, and that surprises everybody when I say that. I've only killed. How many deer have you killed? I've only killed 5 deer in Arizona, 2 mule deer and 3 whitetail deer, and I can't believe it. But after I killed a couple of deer, I realized I was having more fun taking you guys out hunting, and my friends and neighbors, the kids from the store, Jensen's, the family, the Lanes and the family, all these neighbor kids I took over the years, and I have enjoyed that as much. So I only killed 5 deer, but I went on many, many hunts with all the other people that I helped out.
Yeah. I can still vividly remember, and today, for heaven's sakes, you'd get in trouble. But I took my rifle to school, and you picked me up after school, and off we went to climbing up into the Catalinas.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they'd do to me today if I showed up with an .6 at the school today. I'd be behind bars.
That's right. It's totally different. I remember going to this Ramsar's market on my bicycle with my 22 across the handlebar, going in and buying a box of 22 ammo, which cost me whole 35 cents back then. And yeah, today if your kids showed up with a bicycle with a 22 rifle across the handlebar, they had to call the cops on him.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, speaking of hunts that you and I did, I remember the one that we did, and we were sitting up there, and like I said, you were busy glassing for sheep, and I was glassing for muleys. But the stories you told me about Korea have stuck in my head for years and years and years.
Which one was that?
You told me about a story where there was a rock that you and somebody else got sent out to, and your buddy was kind of like the decoy and you were the shooter, and there was a sniper that had been shooting at your unit. Is that the story?
That's a little exaggerated, but yeah, that was the story. It wasn't all quite as perfect as that, but
No, and I left all that out of there because that story seemed to shake you up when you told it to me at the time.
yeah, it was just a kind of something that happened that a little exaggerated in some places, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, it didn't seem like it was a fun
Yeah.
moment, but you taught me. You told me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There was sometimes those times I don't talk a lot about.
Yeah. Well, you asked, or I wouldn't have even brought that up.
Yeah.
But that was the story you told me, and I still remember it.
I run the rifle. We had a small rifle range in Korea, and I ran that rifle range. And one of the funny things that happened is I was running the range, and all the shooters are on the line. And okay, ready on the right, ready on the left. I said, wait a minute, hold your fire. There's a cow coming onto the range. And what did all them GIs do? Really? Bam, 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 bam. I said, you guys gonna pay for that. And they did, but they didn't care. Oh yeah, that was fun things. But I had most of the fun helping the kids. I got to really learn about kids and how they react, how excited they got. I knew when to let them shoot and when to tell them not to shoot, because I'd see I would ask them, "Are you holding it?" "Yeah, I see him." "Are you holding good?" "Unsteady." And the end of the barrel will be doing this.
Well, I remember going up into the Catalinas, and you and I got to the top, and you said, "You know, Eric, you're the only kid that's ever been able to hike up here with me without getting tuckered out."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
because
you
I
was-
was a runner.
He was in good condition.
Yeah. But you were in super physical condition.
Yeah, I was. I kept in condition because I always wanted to do the things that I was doing, the hunting and hiking and all. And kids kept getting stronger and stronger too. So yeah, I helped a lot of kids over the years get their deer, their antelope, their elk. A lot of them. And every once in a while I run across one of them that mentioned it. I asked Mike Jensen. Do you remember Mike Jensen?
Hmm?
I asked him on the Facebook thing the other day. I said, "Mike, I remember I took him to his bighorn sheep. He was the first sheep that I was helped get before I hardly knew anything about sheep, except I knew where to find them. But I asked him if I helped him do his deer, and then he wrote back. He texted me back and said, "Yeah." But more than that, he said, and he typed in a kind of a long. He typed me back. "You more than that. You taught me to respect the land," and he had a good comeback, and I showed it to Christy and Tracy, and He said, yeah. But he was giving me some good stuff to remember by.
Well,
Uh,
now that brought up something else when you were talking about Jensen's, because you got me that job there that summer when I turned 16. And I remember I don't think I ever took a paycheck home from that place. All I did is just endorse my check and then get
Sounds
something
like
out
me.
of the store. Yeah. And so, but I ended up buying your binoculars, your
Nine.
1050s.
1050.
Yep.
The
And
Bushnell Custom.
the Bushnell Customs, and you let me have those because you had just bought that $1,000 pair of
Nice.
whaling binoculars,
Yeah.
and you were like, "Now don't let Midge know that I did this."
Did I give them to you? You still have them?
No, I bought. Okay, so I had those for many years, Uncle Bill, and then one day, one of my nephews was down at a retreat in Mexico. No, he wasn't at a retreat. One of his best friends was at a retreat down in Mexico, about an hour or two from where Diane and I lived. And his friend had chosen to go hiking up in the mountains alone.
Yeah.
And he fell and actually fell to his death.
Oh, wow.
And they were trying to find him. And so my nephew got a hold of me and said, "Hey, this friend of mine, they don't know where he's at. He just fell. Can you go help?" And so we grabbed all of our equipment and went running up there. And I went glassing. And then we stayed the whole weekend, but we had to go back to work. And they still hadn't found him or his body for the first 2 or 3 days. And so I left my binoculars there, and they said they'd get them to me.
I think I remember
And
you
they
told
never
me
came back.
that story once, I think.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
where I lost them. But I had them for a good 30 or 40 years before they got lost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's what we were all going to. I kept getting glasses with more horsepower.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you sold me your 1050s, and boy,
Yeah.
that was like a prized possession to
Yeah.
get those 1050s
Yeah.
from Uncle Bill.
I gave my very famous Zeiss glasses to Joe and Tracy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell that story about how you started buying them things and figuring out how to glass up there in the mountains, and then how that whaling company called you.
Well, yeah. I wanted more binocular, so I
But for why? I mean, what did you basically invent?
the adapter from the adapter from the glasses to the tripod.
There you go.
I should have patented it.
Yeah, you should have.
But yeah, I got those big glasses. Had to find a way to hold them down, and I did. And then I started having the gunsmiths make up adapters, and then we started selling them out the store.
At Jensen's. Huh.
Yeah, they all had that quarter 20 thread in
Right.
the back of them glasses.
Right. Yep, I
Yeah.
remember that, sitting down and just sitting there glassing up and down the hill, and you teaching me how to just sit there and look through that circle
Yeah,
and just stare at that circle looking for movement.
exactly right. I learned that myself the hard way or the long way. I didn't have any help, but I learned to look through those little binoculars, like pick your spot, like you said, and pick that spot apart
Yeah.
piece by piece. Like we used to say, turn every rock over.
Right. You taught me how to do that when I was like 16 years old.
Yeah. You
That was 40 years ago.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did that with
but-
how many more people? 200, 300,
Oh
400?
yeah, I don't know. I was already the Zeiss people said that we sold more glasses out of Jensen's, more 1560 Zeiss glasses out of Jensen than anywhere else in the state, and it was curious why. And when I ordered mine, remember the story? They called and asked me what I wanted them. Are you sure you want them? Yeah. Why? Because we only sell them to whalers. I said, there's no whales in Tucson.
No wells in Tucson.
It was a nice rep. Yeah. So, yeah, we sold a lot of them binoculars. All my friends, their family got them. Tracy got a pair. John Levinson.
They were $1,000 back then.
Yeah, they were, I think, $1,300, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Far, far away and long ago.
Well, I did get another pair of binoculars with that. They replaced my binoculars.
Did they?
And they gave me the money, and I went out and bought a pair that had, you know, they tell you the distance from the animal. Rangefinder inside of them too.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're hunting archery, you need the glasses with a rangefinder, especially.
Well, I love what you did for me and all us kids.
Yeah. I'm getting a little tired, so
Yep.
excuse me for
Oh, you're
not
fine.
staying up with
You're
the
fine.
conversations.
I appreciate your time, Uncle Bill.
Yeah.